Welcome to Misbehaving in Maine. I'm Dan Williams. This story is called I Should Have Danced with Her. And now, here goes everything. When I was halfway through writing school, the program promised us a famous visitor, the journalist, memoirist, and novelist Joyce Maynard. Unfairly, everyone said one thing about her, as if that's all there was to say. She used to be J.D Salinger's girlfriend. "Who's that?" I said. I loved writing more than I loved reading back then. "J.D. Salinger?" shouted the person I was talking to. We'll call this person Julian, of course. Julian screamed, "The catcher in the rye guy?" "Baseball?" I said. After much laughter, Julian said, "No, it's a famous book. I can't believe you don't know The Catcher in the Rye. Hey, everyone, he doesn't know The Catcher in the Rye. Ah ha ha ha, ah ha ha ha." I hate it when people do that. They discover something surprising about you, surprising and disappointing to them, and they go nuts. Hey, people, stop it. I cannot know anything I want. I'm an American. As wretched as Julian was, he helped me. After him, when people said what they said about Joyce, I said, "J.D. Salinger? I know exactly who you're talking about. Did you know J.D. wasn't primarily a baseball writer? That was just one book." I looked into the matter further, reading The Catcher in the Rye, which I had somehow missed in high school. Not somehow, I know how. I went to a little Christian high school where we avoided books with swears of all kinds. Instead, we read A Tale of Two Cities, a book about cutting people's heads off. Christians don't mind decapitation in a book. You can get your head hacked off in a Christian book all day, just don't be swearing while you're at it. I loved The Catcher in the Rye. The curses felt like discovering long-lost Lego pieces. The Dan set was more and more and more complete with each curse, every single one. And the F word was like coming home again. Also, I possibly learned that The Catcher in the Rye is considered by some to live amongst the greatest books of the 20th century. In my researching, did I read any of the many books written by Joyce Maynard, though? I did not. I might have fallen into the trap of hearing the name Maynard and thinking the name Salinger, which is unfair, cruel, trollish, and dumb. It happened to another teacher I knew, Ricky Ducournay. Though Ricky has written novels, short fiction collections, books of poetry, essay collections, children's books, and is an illustrator and painter, I remember a drunken professor yelling at her when she stood to read one of her stories. "Hey, Ricky, don't lose that number." If you didn't know, Ricky Don't Lose That Number is a famous song by the band Steely Dan. And the Ricky in the song is Ricky Ducournay, my old teacher. Look it up. Sadly, if you know someone super famous, most people will only think of you as a gateway to that super fame. They won't see you. They'll see a window. They'll lean in close, the steam of their breath making your eyes water. They'll look right through for a glimpse of glory. Anyway, while preparing to meet Joyce Maynard, I felt a little pressure. Here's a little more. We would all be meeting Joyce at one of the writing program's big gatherings. And at this gathering, there'd be music, drinking, and a talent show. A chance to get her attention, impress her. I, Dan Williams, could be the catcher of the eye. If I connected with Joyce, maybe she would anoint me with Salinger magic. The talent show rules. Participants were not to offer poems or fiction or nonfiction. Instead, we could only present hidden talents. Sing, play a fiddle, march to the beat of a different drummer, So bring a drum. Not that one, a different drum. Whatever, just surprise us. So I decided I was going to sing. I should not have decided this. Historically, I'm not an out loud singer. In church, I always murmur the hymns under my breath as if I'm moaning spells. And when it's time to sing Happy Birthday, I yell the song to avoid singing it. I guess I wanted to sing because Joyce was going to be there. She would see how brave I was for singing, even though my nature, biology, and better angels said, "Why do you have to do anything? Be an audience member, just sit." I would demonstrate to Joyce that bravery isn't the absence of fear. Bravery is when you're terrified, but you sing in public anyway. Or you don't. Yes, folks, I chickened out. I decided not to sing. Instead, I would perform a Johnny Cash song. If he didn't have to sing to make music, neither did I. I picked the song I've Been Everywhere. To sing it, you have to quickly list about 1,000 places. I have a good memory, so I learned the names of the 1,000 and practiced every day. Soon, I felt ready to cash it up for Joyce. It was in those days that I was shaving my head. Why? I wanted to prove to myself I was good looking enough to survive a tragic haircut. To cover it up, which I did a lot, I wore a hat. Not just any hat. It was a woolen cap, the kind Newsies and Gatsby's wore, and the kind used nowadays to tie off hipster douchebags. It's also the national hat of acorns. I freshly shaved myself bald, placed my cap on top, then went to the vast restaurant bar where the talent show was being held. There was alcohol, a live band, and a long list of talent for the show, and so many chairs filled with so many butts. But no butt was cooler than the one Joyce carried. I'm not being lecherous here. I'm trying to tell you she was wearing shiny silver pants. Like a beautiful knight. Like pants made of the moon. Teach me how to wear the moon, O Joyce. The talent stood and stood again to take the microphone, writer after writer abandoning their pens for ukuleles, comedy, juggling, and close-up magic. I paid no attention whatsoever to the other acts. The performer before me could have been a stuntman manatee performing a full-body burn. I wouldn't have noticed. I just knew the sound of their name because it was the name before mine. I heard that name, the manatee stood and burned, the people clapped. Then I heard my name. I stood. I walked to the front. Someone offered a lonely woo. Without a singing voice, without anything but memory and the will to be noticed, known, adored, loved, and famous, I stood before the entire program. When positioning myself in front of large groups, I go partially group blind. I see a blur, a mash, a hoo-hash of faces, a unified mass studded with hazy eyelights. Joyce was somewhere out there in her silver shining, but I couldn't see the silver for the blur. I took a very deep breath because you have to breathe very deep to perform I've Been Everywhere. Then I began. I was toting my pack along the dusty Winnemucca road when along came a semi with a high and canvas-covered load. If you're going to Winnemucca Mac with me, you can ride. And so I climbed into the cab and then I settled down inside. He asked me if I'd seen a road with so much dust and sand, and I said, listen, I've traveled every road in this here land. Then Johnny says, I've been everywhere a whole bunch of times, and then he gets into the list. I've been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Tocopilla, Barranquilla, and Padilla. I'm a killer. It was just like the real thing, except I didn't have a band. That's right, friends and neighbors, no instrumentation. The room must have felt the lack because the drummer of the live band took it upon himself to lay down a rhythm while I sang. However, my timing was so unique it presented no comfortable place for rhythm. Therefore, the drummer eventually gave up, stopped dead, and I, in the silence, a hairless boy who had been nowhere, went on and on. Thank God I didn't mess up. I did what I came to do. I said place names in the right order. After that, I fell from the microphone into my chair, replanting my butt to the sound of pity applause and a tumbleweedy woo. Or maybe it was just the echo of the first woo, so soft now, so hollow. I realized I had just yelled a geography lesson at a room full of very serious people. Perfectionists, artists, Joyce. I sat there broken, red in the face. I clapped and cheered for the other performers, but I didn't hear them or see anything. I was too busy wondering how one recovers after ruining himself. Then things got worse. The talent show disintegrated and was born again into a dance party. People shoved tables out of the way to make room, and this put my seat, formerly protected by several tables, on the front lines of the dance floor. And there she was, out in the music-tossed forest of freedom, Joyce Maynard. Long brown hair, turquoise jewelry everywhere. Eyes so big and haunting, I almost forgot to notice her shimmering silver pants, each leg a mermaid tail, tucked into a combat boot. There she was, whirling and twirling in the center of the dance floor. I watched her fearlessness, mesmerized, and wondered if she could ever anoint a man who yelled instead of sang, who balded himself and signed up for public humiliation when he didn't have to. I watched her from my exposed position, too afraid to move. If I moved, I might bump into someone who had seen and heard my performance, folks whose eyes would dart away, burning with vicarious shame. Then, as they say, it happened. Joyce Maynard gazed out of the kaleidoscope storm she was weaving with the raw material of poets and storytellers, and she saw me. When you are seen by the eyes of Joyce Maynard, brown eyes dark with celestial light, you find yourself cast from head to toe into full existence. You cannot hide. You have been found. Those eyes see so clearly that the things they witness become terribly heavy with reality. Too heavy. They nearly tear through the mortal veil and fall to the other side. She smiled at me, Joyce Maynard did. Then she headed my way. No, she danced my way. And as she drew closer and closer, her arms began to reach out and her hands opened, palms up, to take mine. What was she thinking? I was in a bad place. I was very afraid for 3 reasons. 1, I'd already spent all my bravery on my hidden talent. 2, I don't dance, I wiggle, and when I wiggle, I do it to make people laugh. It's too scary to dance for real, to mean it, because you can fail. People can roast you for the shapes your body makes, but if you're the one roasting you by being silly, you're untouchable. I couldn't all of a sudden try to dance, actually try, in front of all these people, the ones who still had fresh memories of me yelling towns and cities in their faces. Reason 3 for my fear. Joyce. Heavily published Joyce. Silver Girl, who had gazed into the abyss of Salinger's mind and somehow survived, thrived, outgrown even him. What was she thinking? Maybe this. I saw this kid's cash, And I saw the aftermath. Poor guy didn't sit down. He basically collapsed. I think a dance might cheer him up, make him smile again, laugh, and move on. When the famous writer was close enough for me to stand, for me to offer my hands, for me to dance with her out into the wild open, I did this instead. I put up one hand, the universal sign of stop. I shook my acorn, the universal sign of no. I think I smiled charmingly while I did it. Did I? I hope I did. That at least would have meant something better than stop and no. It would have meant this. I don't really exist as much as you seem to think I do, Joyce. I'm not even sure how you spotted me. Also, I'll burn up if you touch me. Or, at the very least, I'll melt down into an embarrassment stain on the floor if I try to dance, really dance. And that's what I'd have to do while dancing with you. You could slip on that stain. You could have a bad fall. So it is with great regret and crushing humility that I say, no thank you, madam, and I say it with a profound emphasis on thank you. Joyce Maynard did not miss a single beat. She turned from me, still smiling, and wondrously spun her way back into the dance. It was as if she had not been rejected at all, because she hadn't been. I had handily rejected myself. That's all. To her, I'm certain it was a very little happening. You could tell by the look on her face, the dancer's bliss. She had invited a very small creature to share a moment of freedom, and that creature had made a mistake. He'd burrowed. She knew there was no reason to be upset. She understood that all the hurt was mine and mine alone, and that it would teach me valuable lessons in time. Now that you know all this, friends and neighbors, I'll get what I deserve. You'll run across my name and think, Joyce Maynard. That's all my name will bring to mind. You'll look into my eyes and through. You'll lean in close, the steam of your breath making my eyes water. I'm not crying. I just have something in my eye. Both eyes. It's coming from somewhere way back in the brain. It's the memory of the night I had a chance to dance with a kind and beautiful artist. And I said no. However, I think I'm ready now, Joyce. Since my wife is allowed to dance with Stephen King, we agreed on this, I'm allowed to dance with you. If you can forgive me. This has been Misbehaving in Maine. See you next time. And if you'd like to fire some support my way, check out my book, Misbehaving in Maine, 30 Half-Learned Lessons. You can find it on my website, danwilliamswrites.com. Friends and neighbors, thank you. And remember, you may be wicked, you may be weird, but you're not alone.